time for another podcast by George. Straight talk, straight from the heartland, that'll have you saying, "By George, I think he's got it." Now, here's George.
Oh, hi, how are you? Welcome on in to another podcast by George. Good Monday morning. I hope you're having a good morning. I know some folks that aren't, and they're on the island of Maui. A lot of folks out there grief-stricken, a horrible situation. I'm sure you saw it and you've seen the news. I'm going to show a little bit about what's going on, but that's not really my primary focus today. We're going to kind of look at a couple of different angles that people haven't considered, and I hope you saw the little promotion that we had out here, LiveLine from Maui. Please help best friends. Now, we're going to get to what our best friends are all about here very shortly, but I'm going to do our introductions here for our guest, who is Dawn Phendler. She's the CEO of Hawaii Animal Rescue Foundation, H.A.R.F. It's a unique private nonprofit in Maui, Hawaii, that has been committed to the philosophy of people helping animals and animals helping people since 2011. Located on 10 acres in Wahis, the center provides a variety of services that benefit the community through educational and therapeutic programs for people and humane care and adoption for animals. They are a no-kill rescue center and rely heavily on tax-deductible contributions from private donors like us to continue their life-saving mission. And now they need us more than ever to help them. Let's click this button here, get this off the screen, and a couple of button clicks here, and we'll be able to say good morning, early morning out there to Dawn Phendler. Hi, Dawn.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on here. And, I don't know exactly how to start. Yeah, a couple of things. Now, this is some drone footage that was on your site that kind of shows what we're talking about. I know a lot of people have seen this. This is one of the best uses of drones. Sometimes drones are overused when it comes to cinematography and video, but this is very good because you couldn't get around. I mean, you couldn't see what's going on without this or a satellite photo. And I think this was taken by a friend of yours, of H.A.R.F out there, the fellow that took this drone. Yeah, do you know who that is, Dawn?
Yeah, it's Javier.
Okay.
And he was one of the initial people that was able to get in. He went in by boat and flew his drone, so he did not actually set foot in the disaster zone, but was able to capture this incredible footage.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what I think when I look at it. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. I mean, it's incredible what this is. And the update is we've got about 100 dead so far, and they're telling us it's going to get worse, perhaps much worse from a fatality count. And I mean, just look at this. My God. And here very quickly now, again, to show this is some of the before and after video. There it is, lush and green. There it is, dead and dying. And again, 2020, you can see a live shot there. And here's, I hate to describe it this way, but a dead shot. And of course, we're talking about people. We're talking about homes. We're also talking about animals. We're talking about pets. We're talking about best friends. And that's what Dawn and I are going to talk about. And I don't know, let me frame it this way, Dawn. I saw a meme, or it was kind of a joke yesterday, but I mean, it's for real. I saw somebody said, "You let your dog get up on the couch?" And the guy said, "If he wanted my car, I'd let him have it."
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how people feel about their pets. Yet when something like this happens with animals, we tend to overlook it and we tend not to act, but we need to now.
Yeah. Pets are definitely family. And, a lot of people, I've been in the disaster zone, not where it's closed, but out on the outskirts with providing relief efforts. And, it's amazing how many people that were able to get out of their homes in time. That's what they grabbed. They grabbed their dog, they grabbed their cat, they grabbed their kids, and that was it. So thank goodness they did.
I mean, it's almost a sociology study in and of itself. The other thing was in Hawaii, and I tell them people have forgotten this as well. When they had that false warning of the nuclear missile strike out there and said explicitly, this is not a drill, and everybody ran for cover that wasn't there, they realized that, my God, there's no place to go. I heard some guy put his kid down a manhole out there, but that's never happened before, that type of thing, where this is not a drill came across. Were you in Hawaii at that time? Did that affect you?
Oh, yeah. It did actually. That was happened on one of our adoption days where we go out into the community and hold dog adoptions, and we were literally loading trucks to go out when the sirens went off. It was very unnerving, and I've actually been in. I've lived in Hawaii for so long. I was in Hurricane Iniki back in the early '90s, which was a Category 5 hurricane that just devastated the island of Kauai. So I've been through that. So this is a very similar, different type of disaster, but very much the same feeling.
All right, let's talk about Lahaina now. Let me get into this a little bit. This is what we're seeing. And this is an area that you're very familiar with. I kind of wanted to start here because this is how lush and beautiful it can be and what it is today. We saw in those photos earlier, but is this the Maui? Is this the Lahaina type area that you're familiar with?
Actually, this picture right here is our property where we're building our animal center. This picture was taken back in 2017 when we first purchased the property before we started doing any building. So this is actually our home. We are located in Waihe'e, which is on the other side of the island. So we were not directly affected by any fires or damage, thank goodness. But a lot of the rest of the island does look like this.
Yeah. And of course, on the other side of the island, and I'll show this if I've got a graphic here that comes up, how the wind came down off of the mountainside there and went into the vegetation and created this a horrible situation. Now, this is from NBC News. This is what they're reporting here just the past couple of days. It's now the deadliest in modern U.S. history. And the thing that I tell people and all the time on my show is all of these occurrences. I mean, it's only natural, I say, to believe that things are naturally going to get better. But I'm a big climate guy. I mean, I believe that this stuff is all linked. I think it's connected. I think all of these never seen before natural disasters are because of the climate disaster. And man, they got one out there. Again, now this is the shoreline. Now, this is what I was talking about as far as the graphic is concerned. Here's this community right on the shore here. And I saw what first got me really interested in this was people running into the water. I mean, literally to survive. That's something out of a movie scene. I'd never heard of anything like that.
Yeah. The wind was so strong that people didn't have a chance to do anything. And a lot of people did not survive that jumped in the water. And cars along that coastline that you can see there were literally incinerated and melted to the ground. It was so fast and so powerful.
Well, I wouldn't survive because I hate to say this, folks, but I'm not much of a swimmer. Let me tell you, if I had to jump into the water, it probably wouldn't do me much good. What I'm trying to show with these arrows, Dawn, is the wind coming down the downslopes. And it's very fast, 50 knots or more. I read it picks up speed when it comes down the mountain slopes. It's kind of compressed, actually, I think.
It is.
Because of that. And then it comes in there. And my God, we're talking about seconds to live or die, unfortunately, for a lot of the folks that are there. And of course, the reporting now is they didn't get much, if any, warning at all. And I don't know. What are you hearing about that?
There was no warning. It happened so fast that the emergency sirens, we live in a hurricane environment. So we have a monthly siren test statewide. And so we're very familiar with the emergency siren schedule. But this happened so fast that the sirens didn't even go off.
Oh, my God. Okay, and Don's time is limited today because they are very busy, and we're going to get to exactly why. But I wanted to at least give this perspective that you're not seeing in a lot of places yet. And I also wanted Don's opinion on how significant this is. 93 confirmed dead. I think that's approaching 100 now. It was real close to it, if I'd heard. And they keep telling us it's going to get worse, much worse. I mean, they really haven't started to find what they are afraid to find almost. Disaster capitalism will happen yet again unless they act proactively. Formerly the capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom, Lahaina on the island of Maui was ravaged by a wildfire that killed 93 people Sunday, and locals now fear wealthy outsiders will dominate and further serve themselves with a multi-billion-dollar rebuild from the recent devastation in the 50th state. Lahaina residents worry that rebuilt homes could slip into the hands of affluent outsiders. Now, I'd never thought of this angle before, but I did have a brother that lived in Hawaii. one of the islands. I couldn't even tell you which one for a brief while. And he told me about this situation between, the locals, the people, the natives, so to speak, and the mainlanders coming in. And it's real. I mean, and this is a legitimate concern. How concerned are you about that?
We've been hearing more about that, especially in the last 24 hours. There's a lot, everything here is changing hour by hour, literally. So staying up to date on things is pretty challenging. We do have a lot of wealth in Hawaii. We have a lot of mainlanders, especially since COVID, when people, especially more well-to-do individuals, realized they could work remotely from anywhere. So why not work from Maui or somewhere else in Hawaii? So there's definitely a much bigger disconnect as far as wealth proportion or disproportion. But one of the things about Hawaii that makes Hawaii very unique is that there's a super strong sense of family, community, and history. So I think ultimately it would be unlikely that the rebuild would be this mass high-end luxury only type of a community. Because Lahaina town is so historic. It used to be the capital of Hawaii back in the late or early 1900s. And so it has a lot of historic significance. So between the historical community, the Native Hawaiian community, the community in general, people are going to want to see some of that old Lahaina come back and be part of that buildup. There are going to be some challenges because the town was so old that a lot of the building codes are completely different now. All those cute little buildings were built right on the ocean, which would probably not be allowed now. So there's going to be a lot to work out, sift through, and figure out exactly what that rebuilding process is going to be like. I don't think we're anywhere even close to that kind of consideration right now. It's really finding any survivors, taking care of the people that are here and the animals that are here, and really trying to recover DNA and locate families. From what I understood yesterday, we still have over 1,000 unaccounted for. The death toll is 93 as of last night, and they have only gone through 3% of the burn area. So
wow,
so it's we don't even know. It's going to be weeks, if not months, before we even have a real concept of the loss and where we're at as a community.
And one of the other things that I saw, I mean, everybody wants to come run, everybody wants to help, but I saw where local authorities are saying, we just need certain types of help. We just need certain types of people. So let's talk a little bit about your organization, what you're doing, what you're seeing, and how you're trying to help.
Okay, yeah. We're getting an outpouring of requests for help. But there are just very specific needs. Lahaina town is still closed off primarily to all the public. You have to be a resident, you have to be a first responder, or you're part of the search and rescue of some sort. Otherwise, it's closed. And so what we're focusing on, we are partnering with all the other animal welfare organizations in the community, including the Maui Humane Society. And we've been having daily meetings with them. They and our own organization are the largest animal rescue organizations not in the state, but on Maui. And so Maui Humane Society is focusing more on the evacuee animals, injured animals, lost and stray animals that very likely belong to someone. So they're doing more of a triage. They have a complete surgery center where they're at. So they're focusing on that, whereas we're focusing on the displaced families' pets. So our shelters are full here. A lot of our shelters are pet friendly, which is great. But as the days wear on, that's a very stressful situation. It's stressful for the families, their children, and especially the pets, especially like animals like bunny rabbits. I have 2 bunny rabbits coming in about an hour. So what we're doing is we're housing those own pets, giving the families an opportunity to figure out what they're going to do. Where are they going to go? Are they going to stay with family? Are they going to leave the island? Are they, the government here is working on putting housing together for families. So in the interim, we will care for their pets, make sure they're safe, make sure that they're well cared for, and then they can come back and get them so that we're not separating them from their families that really, really want to still hold on to their pets. We've also been in the actual disaster area bringing relief. So we've been down several days in a row delivering pet food of all types, cat traps, cat carriers, medication, medical supplies. We've traveled down with some of our medical team, veterinarians, vet techs, and things like that. But we're really shifting gears now because we're finding that the need is going to be more to support and not physically be in the disaster zone, and let the individuals that need to be there to do DNA collection and things like that, let them do their job and stay out of their way. So that's we're doing that shift today. We've got a team down at our property right now, setting up kennels and getting things arranged. We've got more animals coming today, and we know that's just going to continue to grow.
Well, I like the way that you put that in context, because first and foremost, it's the people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we're here to talk about the animals and her organization and what they're doing, but we understand the need on the human scale. And from my left-wing perspective, I'm looking at this and thinking, this is going to take billions of dollars. You want to come running? Have the government come run. Let's help these people out. Let's get that money and assistance there for the human beings and for the animals. PDQ, let's not rely on a candy jar at the convenience store. I mean, let's get, no GoFundMe's. Let's have it. We can send money in other places. We've talked about that on my show a lot with the Ukraine situation and all that. Let's send some money out there ASAP. Okay, I've got this list of needs. And the other thing about it is, Dawn, I'm sure you can, this is why I've got a soft spot for the animals. I think this is due to climate. I think this is to some extent, and that's yet to be determined, man-made. I mean, we haven't got the good sense not to set ourselves on fire. Here are these animals. They're victimized through no fault of their own. I mean, they need our help now. They're relying on us. We caused the harm. So let's step up. Let's be somebody. And this is how we can help. Oh, go ahead, Dawn.
So right now, I might have mentioned is that we are building our animal center right now. It is not done. It is about 90% complete at this time. So my dog kennels are not in the building yet. They're being built in Ohio right now. So we've got pop-up metal crates for dogs, cats, bunnies, kitties, whatever, but they're not very big. And a lot of these animals are going to be with us long-term. So we need some larger kennels. That's what we posted this morning. We also are looking for Caranda beds, mediums and large as much as possible. So we always need things like bowls. We're definitely going to continue to need dog, cat, bunny food, livestock food, because we have enough space where we also have horses and goats on site. But the biggest thing we're going to need is monetary donations, because that's what really, because we're a small community. We rely a lot on tourism. We generate funds on our fees on our end from adoptions. There are no adoptions happening right now. So this is not a sprint. This is going to be a marathon. This is going to be a long time before we can be whole.
Yeah. Let me go through this list very quickly, because this was a very nice summation. Now you can go to their website and find this stuff out, get the details. But we started off with talking about the need for the, the crates, the housing that they're showing here. And this is the article as it begins for those that want to help. The monetary donation she just mentioned. This is easy. I mean, anybody can do this. I mean, throw them a few bucks. I mean, this is just exactly what they need. And this can be done, I would assume, at your website, right, Dawn?
Yes. You can go to our website. You can go to Facebook. You can also do what we call snail mail. You can mail us a check. And our mail on our side of the island is not affected, so we are still receiving mail. Our address is on our website. Our email's on our website. I mean, that's really going to be what it takes. Because at this point, it's like now, as soon as I get off the this talk with you today, we are heading down to Home Depot, Lowe's, and anywhere else we can find, and we're looking for dog kennels, which we hope we even have any on the island. So we're that's all cash out the door that we're spending just to buy as many of those as we possibly can, because we need them immediately. So that there's lots of ways to give.
Well, and like I said, let's lean on the government to send them some billions. And in the meantime, let's send these folks some hundreds and some thousands for the animals because they'll
Yeah.
be forgotten. They won't be included in whatever disaster relief goes for people.
Yeah.
Volunteering. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because you're going to need some help.
Mhm.
But we talked a little bit about helping right now, and what's
Yeah.
up with that? Yeah.
So what we're asking, we're getting a lot of requests for volunteering and fostering. So what we're recommending, we're very fortunate. We have a very nice setup on our website for fosters and volunteers. So we're asking anybody that wants to provide physical help, time and energy, to go to our website and sign up to be a foster, or if you are in the position to, to volunteer, or if you're in the position to foster, to sign up through our website, because that gives us all your information so we know how to contact you. We typically contact all of our donors, volunteers, fosters via email. That way we can do it quickly, efficiently, and in mass. And it has all the instructions of what we need, what times, where to be, where to go, how to dress. Everything is in those, or we put in those emails. So that's the best way to get signed up. And then we will reach out as needed and as things change.
Okay, great. And, Don's time is limited now. We're talking to Dawn Phendler. She's the CEO of Hawaii Animal Rescue Foundation. And they're in and around the Lahaina area trying to help as best they can. They need our help to help with the animals, and those people need our government's help, folks. That's what I want my government to spend its money on. That's what I pay my taxes for. But anyway, and Don, if you get too busy here and you got to go on your way, I can
Got
certainly
a few more
understand that.
minutes.
Yeah, okay. Here's the next one, spreading awareness. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying. We're a very small team. We don't have a huge staff. We're about 4 people, to be honest. So we don't have somebody sitting in the office, doing all of our media updates and all of our social, blasts and all of our email updates and all that kind of stuff. We're doing it like in the middle of the night before we pass out. And so we don't have as many updates as we'd like, but we have somebody coming in to give us a hand with that. So we should be able to get the word out a little bit easier. And then that way people can share the information. There's a lot of disinformation and a lot of confusion. So trying to keep everybody kind of on the same page is a little bit of a challenge so that people have the correct information.
Okay, good. Let's move on to the next one. That's the foster care one that we talked about. Fundraising. This is something that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of, Don.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you as an individual, you may not have much you can give. You may be able to donate $10 or $20, but if you are on Facebook, for example, you can go and you can do a Facebook fundraiser, and you send that out to all your friends and family, and you list us as the recipient, and it doesn't cost you anything to do. Facebook doesn't take any fees, and all your friends and family that are compassionate to the situation will make whatever donation they do. And those funds come directly to us. It doesn't take very little time, very little effort, no cost. And, getting a donation of a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, that'll buy us dog food. That'll buy us cat food. That'll buy vaccinations, medication, so it's amazing what you can do if you just, put that out there. If you go to our Facebook page, it has a little thing right there and it says start a fundraiser.
Ah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, collaboration. Is this related to that or something different?
Collaboration is really key. We're a very collaborative organization anyways, and I think a lot of that comes from living on an island and being in a small community, because we really rely on each other. So for example, we're collaborating with the Maui Humane Society, who is another very large animal rescue organization here on the island. We're collaborating with some of the foster programs for kids, because these kids are now out of school and need something to do, and this is very stressful. So we've got a group of teenagers coming out through the foster system this afternoon to help us put kennels together, and we're going to feed them lunch, and it's going to help with their stress. They're going to feel useful, and we need the help. So it's collaborating with lots of different groups. We're working with the Maui United Way, the Maui Food Bank, with the Friends of the Children's Justice Center, you name it. So collaborate, because there's a lot we can do certain things really well, but we can't do everything. But if we bring other groups in and keep everybody well informed, then we create a nice network of not only information but support. Because we're getting calls for things we can't do, but if I know where they can get that help, I can send them. I just got a call right before we got online here for a dog that is in Lahaina, and they are trying to get it out of Lahaina. The dog is injured and we're not there. And so I did find out yesterday there is a medical team of veterinarians. I know exactly where they are. So I said, this is where you need to take the dog. The dog will get treatment. And if it's an emergency, they'll medevac them out with, just like they're doing with people. So I couldn't help them, but I knew where they could get the help. So those types of networking things are really critical right now.
Oh, we've got to send her on her way because she's got a hell of a lot to do today. And I gotta, I want to overstate. We're talking people first and foremost, but we're talking animals. And remember, pets are family members, and that's not an exaggeration by Dawn. Yeah,
I think it's important to remember, and this is something we're dealing with because we are not only an animal rescue organization, but we work a lot with humans and people and children with trauma. Children that have come from neglect and abuse, which is where a lot of our animals come from, because it's all connected. You're talking about climate change and how that's connected. And this is the same kind of a thing. And so, prior to this disaster, we were already grappling with a lot of mental health issues from COVID. And that is still very, very top tier in the community, is the mental health, not only for adults, but for kids. So this is really adding to it. So we're concerned, and we're worried that there's going to be even a greater need for support and help for humans. And it's going to relate to animals as well. It's because they're all part of the same family.
All right, I brought this up on screen. We're going to send Dawn on her way for this, so she'll enjoy this story. That's my boy, and he's since passed away. But if you need some motivation, if you need a reason to make a donation, and you think about the fact that your beloved pet that died, I mean, a lot of people go to the vet and have to go through that. Honest to God, what a soul breaker that is. And the animal, it's left behind, taken to a pet cemetery. Maybe it's buried in the backyard if your city ordinance provides for that. But wouldn't you like to do something a little more to commemorate that pet? Here's a great thing to do. Give it to Dawn's group. These links that I have up here, contribute that way in the memory of, well, that's Albie there. He was a tough guy. He's got an ear turned down there. I mean, this guy, he had no fear of anything. He's up on the roof of a storage shed that I have here. And there's a Hawaii connection with Albie, Dawn. My wife and I went on a vacation to Hawaii. It was probably the best vacation we ever took. My God, it was out on the Big Island, Hapuna Beach. My God, it was a great thing. But anyway, I remember standing on the balcony and, see Albie there. He's kind of hairy. He's got white hair and stuff like that. And I'm on the balcony of the hotel, and there's a white hair on me, from Albie. What? So I picked it off and I just kind of flicked it off. Well, Albie's DNA is somewhere in the Hawaiian Islands, folks. I mean, he's got a Hawaii connection. It's very small, but make a donation on behalf of that pet. Albie'd be happy with that. I'm sure your pet would be too. And so tell us today now, where are you headed, Dawn? What are you going to do? And we'll let you go.
Well, we are not going to the west side today. They have changed the restrictions. We're going to have to get a placard now in order to get back in, which is going to be a lengthy process, maybe by tomorrow if we're lucky. So today we're going to concentrate on getting our animal center set up to receive what we're calling guests. Dogs, cats. I've got, like I mentioned before, I've got 2 bunnies coming in about an hour. I've got a couple dogs coming in around lunchtime, and just getting prepared for a larger influx of animals. So that's what we're concentrating on today, is just really getting prepared, making sure we have all the supplies that we need. Everything's in a clean and orderly manner. We got, one of the things when you start housing large numbers of animals and you don't know their medical history is you have to, make sure that there's enough space between everybody we may be having to vaccinate and things if animals are in need, so that we don't have any kennel cough or upper respiratory or anything like that. So we're kind of gearing that whole setup today, and that's our primary focus. And then we're going to reassess at the end of the day and see if we've got entrance back into the burn zone And if so, we'll be delivering supplies. We do have a huge donation of supplies that were dropped off in the last 2 days that we can take back out. So we shall see. Changes hour by hour.
Yeah, it sure does. Now I've got that URL, that web address up there again, harfcenter.org. H.A.R.F, H-A-R-F center.org. Go there, make your donation, contribute, help out any way you can. Last word, anything else you want to add other than that web address that here at Closed On?
I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's amazing the outpouring of help and concern from across the world. I've had calls from the UK yesterday. So we really, really appreciate it. And, it makes such a difference knowing that we're not in this all by ourselves. So it's great. We're really grateful.
Well, our heart goes out to you. And like I said, I hope the pocketbook of the government gets out there fairly quickly. And then the personal pocketbooks of viewers like mine and people around this country that want to help the animals and the pets on the island of Maui. Thanks again, Dawn, for coming on this podcast by George LiveLine.
Thanks for inviting us. Have a great day.
Yeah, good luck. Travel safe, travel well there as you move about the island of Maui. That's Dawn Phendler, folks. She's the CEO of Hawaii Animal Rescue Foundation, H.A.R.F., doing what she can out there on the island of Hawaii. Okay, we're going to switch gears here because I'm going to get to another story here that I do want to mention just briefly because, I mean, this thing was just jaw-dropping, just shocking, kind of, but kind of not. I don't know if you saw this or not. Let me bring this one up on screen. This is a big story, folks. There's Albie going to get bigger all the time. And it is this situation with the illegal raid. And now it's being said to have contributed to the death of a newspaper co-owner out there in Kansas. Now, I hope that you saw this. And this is from Common Dreams here. Let me bring this up on screen big enough to where I can read it, hopefully. Because, my eyes aren't what they used to be, folks. Advocacy groups and reporters across the United States have sounded the alarm throughout the weekend about a legally dubious police raid on Friday targeting the Marion County Record Office and the publisher's Kansas home in an alleged identity theft investigation, events that the newspaper said contributed to the death of the elderly co-owner. Stressed beyond her limits and overwhelmed by hours of shock and grief, after illegal police raids on her home in the Marion County Record newspaper office Friday, 98-year-old newspaper co-owner Joan Meyer, otherwise in good health for her age, collapsed Saturday afternoon and died at her home, the outlet reported. Joan Meyer lived with her son, Eric Meyer, the Record's co-owner and publisher, according to the newspaper. This is what they had to say. She had not been able to eat after police showed up at the door Friday with a search warrant in hand. Neither was she able to sleep Friday night. She tearfully watched during the raid as police not only carted away her computer and a router used by an Alexa smart speaker, but also dug through her son Eric's personal bank and investment statements to photograph them. Electronic records were left in a jumbled pile, or electric cords were left in a jumbled pile on the floor. Joan Meyer's ability to stream TV shows at her home and to get help through her Alexa, that all was lost because of this raid. Now, Joan Meyer died in the line of duty, Kansas City columnist Melinda Hennenberger wrote Sunday. It's not hyperbole to say that this attack on the people's right to know appears to have killed her. Hennenberger highlighted that Joan Meyer had responded to the raid by referencing German dictator Adolf Hitler, telling the Wichita Eagle that these are Hitler tactics and something has to be done. The Committee to Protect Journalists President Jody Ginsburg echoed calls for investigations into the members of the law enforcement and the judiciary behind the deeply disturbing raid. Local news providers are essential in holding power to account, and they must be able to report freely without fear of authorities' overreach, Ginsburg said. This kind of action by police, which we sadly see with growing frequency worldwide, has a chilling effect on journalism and on democracy more broadly. Now, there's one thing I want folks to think about and never forget, and this is from the Chris Hedges report. He reported some time ago that journalists abandoned Julian Assange and they slit their own throats. And what he is warning about in this article, go to Substack and check it out here, is exactly this: that journalists everywhere, including in the state of Kansas, are going to be subject to these illegal search and seizures because of what happened to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. If you can start at the top and you can act with indemnity like that when going after the very creme de la creme, the very top, the very tip of the spear when it comes to journalism, Julian Assange, it will work its way down the food chain. There are people that will be willing to take a chance either because they're too dumb or because they're in on it. And that's the situation with this Kansas Reflector. I mean, these people are in a bad way. I don't want to pick on them here when they're down, and they're certainly down. That newspaper office is. But as you can see here, I went to their website and did a search on Julian Assange, on Assange. You can see it there, highlighted. Kansas Reflector, the newspaper, nary a word, not one. Not in a letter to the editor, not in an opinion from the paper itself, not in a news article. They never covered it. Maybe they will now. We need to wake up. I mean, the alarm is going off, and it happened just this past weekend in Kansas, and it could happen anywhere. And it all started with Assange, and this was warned about, as I mentioned, by Chris Hedges, lots of other people, including right down to myself. And it's just, it's unbelievable. It really is in this country. I've never seen anything like it, honest to God. And I told somebody on Twitter, I think the other day, that if you're involved in law enforcement or the judiciary, there's a few things that you know. I mean, hell, if you watch TV, you would know that you got to read somebody their Miranda rights, supposedly, when you arrest them. You can't go into someone's home without a warrant, and you can't go into a newspaper office and take computers, notebooks, laptops, and stuff like that, for God's sake. I mean, if you want to get a journalist to testify, you have to subpoena them, and a judge has to determine whether or not it's viable. You just can't waltz into a newspaper office and grab shit. I mean, honest to God, well, that's my rant, and I don't want to get carried away because it's just me here, and the show is not about just me. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show today with our guest, particularly. Let me bring this back up on screen because she deserves all props. Our guest today was Dawn Phendler, and she's with that group out there in Hawaii. The HawaiiAnimalRescue.org is the way that I have it on there, but she wants you to contact them at this web address now, H.A.R.F Center, H-A-R-F Center.org, HARFcenter.org. And I hope you enjoy a podcast by George, getting this kind of perspective, which really is kind of unique, these angles that don't get reported a lot. Like I said, you're going to see the major coverage on the story just about everywhere you turn, but you're not going to think about those people that have been displaced, that survived, that are going to want their homes back, and they're worried that they're not going to be able to get them because the venture capitalists are going to swoop in and pick up the pieces here, plunk a bunch of money down on the table, and run these people that are native Hawaiians off of their shorefront there. And you're not going to get that reported very much. That's on Podcast by George, and as well as this Assange thing that I talk about all the time. And if you like seeing this, if you like this kind of news, go to podcastbygeorge.com. And please subscribe to us. You can do that on YouTube. You subscribe, you ring the notification bell, and you leave a comment, you give us a thumbs up. That's on YouTube. Now on Facebook, you'll want to follow us so that you get notification of when each of these live streams airs. And if you like listening to the recorded podcast versions of this, the audio only, go to podcastbygeorge.com and click on a badge, an icon, an identifier for Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. No, would it be Amazon Music is another one where people watch us a lot. And of course, we are on Substack as well. I should mention Podcast by George on Substack. But that's going to do it, folks. That's going to wrap it up. That's all there is. And there ain't no more. That's another podcast by George.